Today, Matthew Roebuck was in Southbank to speak with professional dating and lifestyle coach Chris Manak. Chris is the founder of Manak Workshops and has been coaching men in the field of dating and relationships for almost a decade. Okay, so Chris, thanks for joining me today.
Pleasure.
So I'll just start with a nice, easy one. What do you think makes a good relationship?
Compatibility, shared values, and honesty. The latter being the one that I feel is lacking in most relationships.
So can you elaborate on that a little bit? How do you think honesty affects a relationship completely?
In my personal opinion, I believe that our biological drives and our social conditioning often are opposing, and I feel that that creates a lot of things which don't get discussed. And I feel that those problems often snowball into, if you have a couple that's been married for 5 years and, the wife's complaining about the garbage never being taken out. Like, I believe that, that's not the issue. If you deal with that and start taking out the garbage, I don't think that that's going to resolve the actual problem. I think there are underlying issues there. Maybe sexual frustration, someone's not feeling desired enough anymore or attractive enough anymore. Maybe some of the sexual attraction has gone and it's not being addressed. So, and we're in a position where we can't really address a lot of that stuff. Well, we can, but it's kind of socially frowned upon.
Okay, great. So your main area of expertise is in helping young men improve themselves and potentially meet a partner. So what do you think are the biggest challenges facing maybe not just these men, but just single people in general? So men, women, men who are trying to improve themselves, or people who are just trying to meet. Well, what are the biggest challenges that they face these days?
I think, especially nowadays, 2017, I feel that going out specifically to meet someone is considered creepy. Especially for men. So I feel that you're always battling that. So many nice guys are out there week after week wanting to meet girls. I know because I'm out there coaching them. And, the primary concern that they have is, this is creepy. I'm bothering her. If I say hello to her in a supermarket or even in a bar or whatever, I'm going to be interrupting her night. She probably doesn't want to talk to me. So I think both sexes... that affects both sexes because girls go out and they don't get approached, and guys go out and they don't approach. So we're kind of left with, whatever we can do outside of that.
So you're saying people, or especially men, when they're thinking about approaching, should just throw caution to the wind and just have a go?
Yeah, be as nice as you possibly can, be as respectful as you possibly can. And have a crack and don't just try it once or twice. Try and put in a little bit of time in your life to get a little bit better at it. And then you'll likely meet a girl that is much more compatible with you than someone who just falls in your lap.
Great. So do you think it's easy today to meet a good partner, or do you think these days it's given with social media and the amount of choice that people have, it actually makes it harder to meet that special person because maybe there is that extra choice? Or do you think because there's so much information out there and there's so many ways to meet people that the chances of us meeting that someone that we can share our lives with is higher these days?
Well, the statistics aren't on our side. But they've shown in a number of studies, a number of areas, that the more choices we have, generally the unhappier we are. If you look at the divorce rates in, say, India, where there's a lot of arranged marriage, it's actually very low. Now, a lot of people could say that is, it's very socially frowned upon to get divorced. But I think over here, and especially in cities, metropolis, that sort of thing, you're inundated with options. You're in a workplace, you're surrounded by attractive people, you're 2 clicks away from Tinder, there's bars, social lives, all this sort of stuff. So I consider that good and bad depending on what you're after, but I guess ultimately it comes down to you and your upbringing and your beliefs. because if someone has a lot of that stuff sorted and a relationship is what they want, then that's what they'll find. But I also think a lot of people aren't addressing a lot of underlying issues, and that kind of gets carried into relationships. I think that's probably the primary thing there.
Okay, fantastic. So, with that in mind, what do you think? What's the best advice that you can give to someone who is looking for that special someone, other than for the guys just to go out and approach? But let's say that they already know how to approach, and they do have the ability to meet another individual and be sociable and not be a weirdo. What would you what sort of advice would you give to them if they were deciding? Like, how would you tell them to go about picking the special person?
I would say fix yourself first. I know that's really cliche, but I think a lot of people are out there trying to find someone to fix them, to make them feel better. They're basically finding replacement mothers. And this is primarily the guys, because that's what I specialize in, obviously. So, yeah, look at yourself first. Don't just walk out there carrying your own unresolved issues onto the world. If you've got, I think a lot of guys have a lot of underlying bitterness and anger towards women. That may be, residual from childhood. That may be a number of things. But I think that positivity, like I said, you can't go out into the dating world with a lot of, even if you are good at approaching and interacting, if you've got that anger, that bitterness, that any of that stuff lying there, that's going to really mess up anything before you even started, I think.
Chris Manak, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening, everyone. That was Matthew Roebuck speaking with Chris Manak of Manak Workshops for City Journal.